I'm glad that this event is happening. I've, Anytime there's an opportunity to kind of bring the temperature down and to bring um, I guess, light. When I mean that, not just in terms of, visual, but like feeling, lightness to the conversation, I'm always game for it. So I'm Farah Jimenez. I'm president and CEO of the Philadelphia Education Fund, and I'm also a board member of Broad and Liberty, which is an online news portal. So the thing I hear the most during this election season is how depressed people are about the current political environment in the United States, and frankly, the way that we interact with one another. I think an event like the one being hosted here is an opportunity for people who come to this election from very different political perspectives to share that the way that they're engaging with the election season can bring the temperature down a bit, and help us really interact as neighbors to understand how each of us thinks, and realize even when we have difference, that there is still something that connects us, which is our overwhelming concern for our democracy. So I think it's important for our citizens to understand what the different levels of government can offer them and what's important to pay attention to when you have candidates. And so obviously the role of local government is very personal, felt very much day to day. Decisions around public school funding, decisions around transportation investments, decisions around how we prosecute or don't prosecute certain crimes. All of those things do impact very much our day to day. Now, what happens at the national level may feel very different. And I think often when we experience the apathy, it's because people feel like that vote doesn't count because the hundreds of millions of people in the United States, and ultimately because we have an electoral college, your vote actually matters sometimes a lot more if you're in a swing state like Pennsylvania, where we often are the gateway to the White House. Pay attention to the things that a president can really influence. This is important to understand how we're seen and impacted on the global stage, and how the actions that we take domestically really do influence external actors, whether they become hostile to us, hostile to our friends, or come to our side to support the issues we care about. Not that long ago, I had a conversation with someone, and it was during a primary election or a midterm election, and asked if they had voted. Said, "Oh, I don't vote in these mini elections," as if they were inconsequential. And the truth of the matter, when we think about it, at least even locally in Philadelphia, it is the primary election that is the full election often in Philadelphia. We're voting, we're a blue city typically, and so we're tending to vote amongst Democrats. And so if we don't vote in a primary, we don't actually have a say in who's going to represent us at the national stage, is because the most extreme factions of both the Republican and Democratic Party tend to be very dominant in their voice in those primary elections. And as a result, we end up with really polar opposites, as opposed to in the past. I think we tended to see more moderation in both parties. They're really important elections because they are ultimately defining our candidate pool. So if anybody's disappointed with our options and did not vote in a primary, they should think about next time making sure they're involved. So I think a lot of our young people understand the importance of elections. They're getting a lot of the messages. There's a ton of efforts. If you don't understand the design of our government systems, you can be easily seduced by someone promising something they could never in their life deliver when elected. And so the importance of civics education, I think, is a place that I know I'm investing a ton of energy. I'm very involved with a bunch of civics education organizations. For that reason, it's the reason I joined Broad and Liberty, to really expand the narrative by using media platforms to bring new ideas and bring divergent perspectives forward. So my hope is that for young people, that they not only focus on voting, but that we as adults provide them with pathways to understand how our government functions, so that they can feel really informed and more empowered to understand where the influence really does lie. I think our young people are excited about voting and getting their first chance to vote, but I think there's more work we need to be doing to help inform them and support them in that. A lot of what I'm seeing educationally is a focus on activism, and that to me is not enough. Philadelphians don't understand that we're a city of the first class, but we're tied to a commonwealth, and the commonwealth dictates a lot of what we can and cannot do. And so they look at our local elected officials and get frustrated and don't realize you're not voting in the right people at the state level to get you what you need, right? So that piece is so missing. The partisanship also comes not just from primary elections, but the fact that everyone's afraid of being primary. It was only a Philadelphia tax increase, so it was adding 1% to our sales tax. But my friends on the Republican Party who were in Harrisburg, who lived in other counties, they wouldn't vote for it, didn't want to vote for it, not because they didn't understand it wasn't going to impact them, but because then somebody right of them would say they voted for a tax increase. I'm glad that this event is happening. Anytime there's an opportunity to kind of bring the temperature down and to bring some I guess light, when I mean that not just in terms of visual, but like feeling, lightness to the conversation, I'm always game for it.